Okay, so are we ready to start?
I just got here. Had a hard time getting in.
Join the club.
Hi, Ann.
Hi, Dalton. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. There's Stan Dillis.
Do we have Jen?
Jim is right with me. Yeah.
No, Jennifer.
Jennifer was here. Oh, yes, she's there. She's right there in the middle.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm good.
No, that's fine. I only see myself and whoever's talking, so great.
This person right here. She's a chairperson for the committee.
Okay, so at 6:04, I'm going to open the meeting for Thursday, November 12th, 2020. We're opening the meeting for Townsend's Conservation Commission at 6:04, I hope. I'm going to call out your name, and I would appreciate it if you would answer if you're here present or not. John Hussey.
Here. An hour.
Jim Derorian. Jim LaQueer.
Yep.
Ann LaQueer.
Yep.
Dalton Wagman.
Here.
And Jennifer Eaton.
Here.
And Karen Hill is here. Okay, topics unanticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the hearing. I'm going to call this 1.3A. It's to take a vote to reaffirm all votes taken at the 11/4/20 meeting. I'd like a motion to do so.
So
Make a motion to affirm all votes taken at the 11/4/2020 meeting.
Can I get a? Okay, so I need to do the same thing. John Hussey, are you in agreement with that?
I am.
Jim Dorian, no. Jim LaQueer, are you in agreement?
Yes.
Ann LaQueer?
Yes.
Dalton Wagman?
I'm not sure what we're voting on for things that we voted on.
This is an agreement to actually do the vote.
Cocktail or
Instead of all in favor, this is what we do now.
Okay. Yes. Yes, I guess.
Okay. Jennifer?
So this is
Yeah.
in your head.
And myself is a yes.
Okay.
Okay, so now we need to actually vote
I want to make sure.
to reaffirm these, because we voted to add that to the agenda to reaffirm, so now we have to vote to reaffirm.
That's what I'm going to find out. Don't forget, Jeff.
So, can I get a motion to reaffirm these votes?
To reaffirm the vote that we just took to,
No, to reaffirm all the votes that we took on the 11/4 meeting. We added that first one was to add it to the agenda.
Make a motion to affirm all the votes taken on 11/4/20 meeting.
Seconded.
Okay, now we're gonna go through this again.
I
So
just
this
have
vote, I know, this vote is to reaffirm all the votes that we took on the 11/4 meeting.
okay.
so you're looking, I guess I don't understand. Am I voting twice on a matter that we've decided on?
No, what happened was the first one was to add it to the agenda.
Okay, added. All right.
All right, so now that we've added it, we've got to vote on whether we want to reaffirm all the votes.
Okay, so I could have voted yes last week and then no tonight.
You could.
Okay. All right.
You'd be counterintuiting all of your votes that you did, but
Okay.
that's your. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
As much as anything? Welcome
Sure.
to government.
Yes.
So, John Hussey, how would you like to vote?
Yes.
Jim LaQueer,
Yes.
Ann LaQueer,
Yes.
Dalton Wagman,
Yes.
Jennifer Eaton,
I have a question. There was one
Sure.
vote that I did. There was one vote that I did that I wasn't feeling great about. I'm gonna say the one I voted for the order of conditions on I think it was the septic system and the driveway.
okay,
And-
the COC.
And yeah, and Dalton wanted to abstain, and I was gonna abstain also. But somehow we ended up voting, but I wasn't feeling great about it because I never really went to that site and I didn't, I didn't really know much about it.
Okay, so you want to, so when we do COCs, and this is typically how we do it, we rely on Dave, because Dave goes out, he looks at, or our field agent, whoever's the field agent at the time. And
Yeah,
he makes sure that this, we very rarely, if ever, visit a site for a COC.
okay, thank you. So,
But
I,
so you're a yes,
yes, I will be a
and
yes
I'm a yes.
one.
Okay, thank you. So now we have some things to add to the agenda. 3.4, discuss the donation of land to the town on South Row Road. 4.5, letter from Attorney General's office granting an extension to Joan Savoy appeal period dated 11/11/20. 4.6, response from Joan Savoy to Attorney General's office dated 11/11/20. Can I get a motion to add those to the agenda in the appropriate locations?
Motion to add 4.5 and 4.6 into
And
the
3.4.
agenda, into the proper location.
And 3.4.
And 3.4, I apologize.
That's okay. Second?
Seconded.
Okay, John Hussey, are you in agreement with this?
Yes.
Jim LaQueer?
Yes.
Yes.
Dalton Wegman?
Yes.
Jennifer Eaton?
Yes,
And myself is a yes. Okay, so Chair's Report, 1.4. I do have one thing. We posted the admin job. We have a few applications that came in, so hopefully we'll be arranging some interviews shortly, and maybe before Christmas, we'll have a new admin assistant. So looking forward to that.
Cool.
Agents report.
I'll defer, Madam Chair, as each hearing comes through,
Okay.
each discussion comes through.
So now we have 1.6, approve the 11/4/20 minutes. May I get a motion that we approve? Well, you all got those ahead of time. You've all reviewed them and sent your comments or changes back to Dave. So may I get a motion to approve and release the 11/4/20 minutes?
So moved.
Okay, can I get a second, please?
Second.
And same thing, John Hussey, are you in agreement with this?
I am.
Jim LaQueer,
Yes.
Ann LaQueer,
Yes.
Dalton Wagman,
Yes.
Jennifer Eaton,
yes,
and Karen Hill is a yes. And it's 6:12, we have a 6:05 appointment. 6:12. Notice of intent, DEP 308-0676. The applicant is Mark Truitt. The location is 54 Barker Road. The proposed project is for the building of a single-family dwelling, driveway, septic system in the ACEC. It's a 1-acre lot. This is filed under the Wetlands Protection Act and the bylaw. And I believe this is Stan.
Yes, it is. Thank you. As you said, this is about a 1-acre lot. It had two dwellings on it, both of which were in pretty bad disrepair. It accessed both dwellings through a driveway that came off Barker Hill Road. There's a wetland on the north part of the property with an intermittent stream. This was submitted back in March, and it's 8 months later now. We're finally having a hearing. The proposal was to basically, the smaller structure was partly in the buffer zone. We've removed that, built a new house with a garage. All that is outside the buffer zone. There was a portion of the driveway that's in the buffer zone. So in a normal circumstance, that would be a pretty minimal impact to the lot. It's about 80 feet from the wetland line. The fly in the ointment, if you will, is that The landowner got impatient and felt like he couldn't wait because he's been waiting since March. So he went ahead and did some of the work. He removed both houses and cleaned up a bunch of junk that was between the house closest to the wetland and the wetland. There was all kinds of car parts and everything else in there. And he installed the driveway, which is in the buffer zone. And then he's continued to work on the rest of the lot. He's trying to install the septic system and get the house ready to go before winter. So in realizing that he has done work without authorization, we've added some mitigation to the original plan, and we proposed 35 plantings between the driveway and the wetland of varying species, some trees, some shrubs. We've added a drip line recharge trench to the back side of the garage, and the front side of the garage will hit the driveway. We've taken the driveway, we've super elevated the driveway away from the wetland and added a recharge trench along the edge of the driveway. So we're basically mitigating any of the runoff that would come off of that garage or the driveway from being recharged. It's being recharged outside the buffer zone, or at least on the uphill, on the down gradient side of the driveway. And we've added a significant amount of plantings to the plan. So that's basically where we're at, and that's what our proposal is.
Okay.
Because I'm giving you.
Yeah.
So Karen, do you want me to make a couple of comments?
Please do.
So the applicant came, I shouldn't say that, that's not correct. The applicant had filed their NOI back in March of 2020. And this is the first opportunity that we've had to
I'd like to see 2 more hours. but-
And can you please mute your side? I know that you're talking, it's a little bit distracting.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
I'm sorry. So yes, the applicant came before or submitted their NOI in early March of 2020. This is the first opportunity that they've had to come before us. And it's Stan pretty well described, very well described, the project as such and some of the resource areas. And if I could, I'm just going to reiterate in a little more detail what we've got here. And Stan, if you have any disagreements, please pipe in, or if you have any observations that you made that I've ignored unintentionally, please, I'd like to know. So this proposed project is on an acre lot. It's composed of raising an unoccupied 3-season cottage, including and while installing a new driveway, septic system, private well, and they're building a single-family dwelling on this property, along with a detached garage, and there would be some grading associated with it. Much of it is outside of the buffer zone. The portion of the work is located within the buffer zone. There's 3,000 square feet of disturbed area on the northeast side of it. All of the properties located in ACEC. There's an intermittent stream that flows northeast to southwest. Up gradient from this intermittent stream is a defined wetland under the National Wetlands Inventory. Ultimately, that intermittent stream, which is seasonal and has been defined by stream stats, Stan had gone through that legwork, and I confirmed what he found, that this is an intermittent stream, it's seasonal. So therefore, you've got a 100-foot buffer under the Wetlands Protection Act and the associated bylaw. This past year, along with several previous years, we've been under some severe and/or drought conditions, and we've been brought back to normal effective in October. And the stream has not been flowing at all for a couple of months easily.
Dave, could I just also add
Yeah,
that
please.
when we documented the stream, there's pictures that show it dry. That was
Right.
back in March. We weren't in a drought condition then either. So,
And I'd seen it then as well. Yes,
right.
thank you.
I
for
know you were
reminding
out
me
there
of
and
that.
looked at it with Mr. Truitt.
Yes, thank you for reminding me of that. All right, so much of the disturbed area, 3,000 square feet, as I said, is in the northeast quadrant of the property. It's basically where, along where the driveway is now installed. So if I can just back up a little bit, Mr. Truitt, you know, he commenced with work without having gone through the process of having the NOI presented to the commission as we are tonight. It was observed out there that he was doing some work out there without having gone through the process. On 10/16, the commission had posted a cease and desist order, and there have been conversations with some commissioners, I believe, and Mr. Truitt. They were fruitful. No work has, in effect, been ongoing. But as a function of this work, he had done some grading within the buffer zone. He had put the driveway up, which in part is within the buffer zone. If I'm not mistaken, the 3-season cottage, part of it, very small part of it, was within the buffer zone as well. So having said all that, the cease and desist, the work that was done prior to the hearing tonight, Mr. Truitt recognizes that he should have come before the commission, but the commission, on the other hand, was unable to have this hearing until tonight. So if I can recall correctly, if I do recall correctly, at the last hearing, we were talking about, you know, what could be done in order to mitigate the loss of that 3,000 square foot area. And Mr. Dillis and his client were good enough to have put together a planting plan, which was consisted of, I believe it was 10 high bush blueberries. And they in themselves, you know, they're an excellent vegetative plan for that particular type of soil and canopy. So Mr. Dillis and I had asked whether or not, I'm sorry, let me back that up. I asked Mr. Dillis if Mr. Truitt would be amicable to discussing an enhancement or a more robust plan from a planting standpoint. And Mr. Truitt was kind enough to get back to us very quickly with a new plan, which Stan presented to us. I gave you folks a copy of it recently. That plan, I believe, went from 10 high bush blueberries to a total of 35 plants, which include a variety of shrubs and hardwoods. Those hardwoods are a function of all native species ranging from white pine to red oak. I think there was a couple of elm trees thrown in there, a number of chokeberries. So having taken that native list and cross-checking it against soils and, you know, the hydrology of that particular location, it was determined that those plants are facultative and they have the capacity to grow in a wetland or outside of a wetland and flourish with significant regularity and propensity. So let me see what else I have here. Any questions up till now? So if I can just continue briefly. While they were in the process of putting down the driveway, they were astute enough. I'll give Mr. Truitt some credit. He was astute enough, along with I guess his contractors or whoever helped them, to put up a silt fence and some erosion control, and they were well outside 35 foot no touch zone, well outside that. Any questions thus far? Again,
Sure. So there's a section of his driveway that's within our purview, and he's added plantings to a plan that he'd 10 plants, and now it's 30, you're saying?
35.
Yep. And those are being planted, why? Erosion control from the driveway?
Well, that's a very, that's one of the primary reasons, yes, because he's taken out canopy and taken out a multiple number of trees and
Okay.
undergrowth. So this is mitigation in effect.
It is mitigation, but Dave, I sent you some pictures earlier too, that area was actually quite sparsely vegetated because it was used by the previous landowners. There was the building there and there weren't very many trees there.
And there was debris to the right side of the of that location that you're talking about, this 3-season cottage, which all that debris was removed.
Right. So, and there was very little vegetation there. So we're offering to plant a variety of things in there, some shrubs and some that will actually create some overstory and some canopy, which is kind of lacking there now. There wasn't a lot there when we started. So it was a site that was heavily used. So there was maybe 4 or 5 pine trees in there, and that was about it. So we're adding significant vegetation, but it's not necessarily to prevent erosion from the driveway, because the way the driveway is designed, there really shouldn't be any erosion from the driveway. And now we're recharging any water that comes off the driveway on the upland side of the driveway. This is more to just enhance the environment there, and sort of as a penance for working without the proper permission.
Does that make sense, Dalton?
It does. It does. Okay.
Well stated, Stan. Thank you.
And also adding those recharge trenches also enhances the quality of the area also.
So he's taking down the structure that's there, and he's building a new home. That's the idea.
Yeah, both structures are gone already.
They're gone. Okay.
I think they're gone now, correct?
Okay. And in the past, that looks like there was a dirt driveway there anyway.
There was a
Yeah.
driveway. There was a driveway onto the site in the past, correct?
And some trees were felled to basically make room for the driveway.
He really didn't. He only took out a couple of trees actually, because the area around that Three Seasons cottage, as Dave described it, was somebody's yard. So it wasn't heavily vegetated. So, but he did take out a couple of trees that were there.
I think most of the trees came down where the house is going and the septic system is going, which is outside of our jurisdiction.
Okay.
Any other questions, or Dave, you've done?
Yeah, I just, my recommendation would be to issue an order of conditions subject to the mitigation proposed. This is a robust combination in terms of the plantings of facultative and upland facultative plants that are shade tolerant and require minimal hydrology upon establishment, as well as the additional mitigation regarding the runoff and the trenching. I think that's a reasonable form of mitigation, given the fact that he went and did work without the permission of the commission.
And again,
Sorry, Karen.
go ahead. No, I was just going to say, this is all above and beyond what a normal filing would have entailed had he waited.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. We wouldn't have, and we didn't propose any of this mitigation because it wouldn't be normal on a single family lot. And the other thing I'd like to say, I think with, him having filed in March and it now being November, it would be prudent to issue the order of conditions so he can get this kind of buttoned up before winter gets here, because we're kind of living on borrowed time now with the weather and everything. And I'd hate to see this carry over for a winter in the exposed condition that it's in now.
Well, I'm assuming, Stan, if the commission proceeds with the order.
That's why I agree.
No, if they do, then I'd certainly be able to have it available to you early next week at the latest.
That would be great.
Any other questions?
Karen, what do we need to assist this party to go forward? What do we got to do?
Well,
I've been
you have
trying to
any other
listen to everything,
questions?
but it's a little bit tight here. That's okay.
To assist
Well,
the applicant, you need to issue an order of conditions so we can continue with the work.
Okay, so is that something we can do justifiably right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that answers my question, Karen. I make a motion, we go forward with a vote to be able to give that conditions.
Well, you're getting a little ahead of the game here.
Slow me down.
Okay. All right, so if there's no other questions, no other comments, can I get a motion to close the public portion of the hearing, please?
I make a motion to close the public part of the hearing.
DEP 308
DEP
0676.
Well, you-
308-0676.
Can I get a second?
Second,
All right, now we get the fun part. John Hussey, are you in agreement?
I am.
Jim McQuarrie, are you in agreement?
Agreement, yep, yes.
And
Yes, yes.
Dalton Wagman,
Yes.
Hey, please.
Jennifer Eaton,
Yes.
and Karen Hillis. Okay, so do we have any other discussion amongst ourselves about this?
I want to make sure that the proper erosion control is along the road, and depending on the angle of the driveway. I know it was the last time I looked at it, it looked pretty nice, but he's got a cellar hole dug there, so we obviously don't need any erosion control on the upland side, I don't think. But the roadside, it would be intuitive to have something there.
Well, that would be out of our jurisdiction.
Mhm.
Well,
So-
erosion control is our jurisdiction, as far as I know.
But where all those piles of dirt are out of our jurisdiction.
Right.
So I don't know how we can condition work that's outside of our jurisdiction. That being said, the sooner he can get the work started or finished, the less chance of erosion.
Correct.
That's true.
I would like to condition this work. The plantings aren't said to be put in until next year.
Right.
And I can't tell you how many times we have people come before us for COCs that are 5, 10, 15 years old because they moved into their house and they didn't need to finish the work. So my suggestion would be to put a condition in there that if these aren't planted by June 15th, that we're going to start an enforcement action on them, an enforcement order. Just to make sure the trees get planted when they say they're going to get planted. That's my condition, if anyone's in agreement with that.
I am.
If I could make a comment, I don't think November, we can check with Dalton because it is his expertise, but I don't think November is a bad time to plant.
I don't think so either. It's a fantastic time to plant. Right now, you can get all the plants half price or better at the nurseries, but the Stan's proposal was that the plants weren't going to go in until next year. And it could be because they're busy trying to get the rest of the site finished and they don't want to run them over. I get that.
That's exactly why we proposed that. So that
Why would you be
so they
running
wouldn't get
over-
damaged during the construction.
Why would you be running them over if they're on the north side of the driveway?
Well, they wouldn't be, but there's just to ensure that they don't get damaged during construction.
So I will say right now it would work for planting, but if we get hit with another cold snap, it may not be great timing. And if he doesn't hit his window, he might buy all of these plants. And if they're not on the ground, then they may not keep. They
Well,
may
you
not
can heal
overwinter
it in
well.
really good, but that's up to him.
I like your idea so long as it's done by June. I think that's fair. That gives him spring to complete his work there. There's no sense in having him buy plants if he's not going to be successful with them.
Right. Agreed.
Agree.
Agreed.
Agree.
Okay, so
So this is an NOI, so Dave's gonna have that in the
Order of
That'll be-
conditions.
that's one of our special conditions.
yeah.
And that
Okay.
condition is fine. We're happy to accept that condition.
Okay. Anything else from my commission?
So what do we have? Do we have the ability to go and check within this time frame? Can we go and inspect it?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
So we'll check in early summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Dave
Dave
will have it.
usually does that. Dave,
We're not gonna sign off the NOI until the all of the restrictions are met.
any other questions?
Karen, if they run into weather conditions and they can get that planted earlier than June, if they get it in the ground and it's all done, they can go back in front of us so we can shorten up this deadline?
If their deadline to get those things planted is June. And after June, we're gonna do an enforcement action on them to fine them or make them plant the plants or whatever. Those are go in next year. That's what that's all about.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
Any other questions? Comments? Okay, can I get a motion to issue standard order of conditions with the special that the plants be planted by June 15th?
I
So
make that
moved.
motion following your lead.
All right. Wait a minute. Jim. And can I get a second?
Second,
Second.
John Hussey, are you in favor of this?
I am.
Jim LaQuarrie, are you in favor of this?
I am.
Yes.
Dalton Wagman, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Jennifer Eaton, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
And Karen Hill is in favor of this. Okay, can I get a motion to close the hearing for DEP? What is it?
308.
3080676.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Seconded.
Okay, John Hussey, are you in favor of this?
I am.
Jim LaQuarrie, are you in favor of this? Jim?
They're muted. And you
Oh.
accidentally hit the mute button.
Thank you, Dalton. Yes, we're both in favor.
Yes.
Okay, Dalton, are you in favor?
Yes.
And Jennifer Eaton?
Yes.
And Karen Hill is in favor. There you go, Stan, thank you very much. Oh, you're staying around for the next one?
I'm on next too.
Lucky you.
Cool.
Story of my
Cool.
life.
So much enthusiasm. I'm on next too.
All right, it's 6:36. We will open the next hearing. It's a continuation of a notice of intent for Diane Silva / the Iodized Family Trust, DEP 308-655. The applicant is Dushar Medillas for Diane Silva and the Iodized Family Trust. The location is 59 West Meadow Road. The proposed project is to restore historic wetlands and grades within the buffer zone to a 3-to-1 slope project located in ACEC NHESP estimated rare habitat and filing under the Wetlands Protection Act and the local bylaw.
So
Good evening.
Good evening. I think we're going to ask once again to continue this because there's been some activities at the site that are unauthorized, and they've been dealing with the building inspector and Natural Heritage to straighten those out. So I think until they do those, it's kind of premature for us to get into the detail about anything else until the site is kind of under lockdown. Which unfortunately the current administrator of the trust does not live locally, so they don't have a handle on things that are going on out there. And sometimes, like Dave sent me a picture a couple of days ago of a truck leaving the site. When I inform who is now my client of that, they're quite shocked because they've been told and they're under the understanding that nothing's happening there other than the trash cleanup, which I don't know what was in the truck that I saw the picture of, but it was definitely leaving the site. So it could have been full of trash, but I have no way to verify that. So until all of those issues get straightened out, we can talk about it, but I don't think because depending on what's happening there, some of what we propose may change.
Okay. Can I get a motion to continue this to December 2nd?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Seconded.
Okay. John Hussey, are you in agreement with this?
I am.
Jim LaQuarrie,
I am.
Me too.
Dalton Wagman,
Yes.
Jennifer Eaton,
Yes.
and myself also. Okay. It's a little early to start. Not so bad, single family home. Well, we have a continuation for the South Row Road. Actually, wait a minute. Stan's on here for something else. Oh, the Campbell Farm conservation restriction. You still there, Stan?
Yes, I am. If we could do that now, that'd be great. That means I could go home.
Yep. So
Yeah.
let's jump to that one, 3.3. I mean, no, yeah, 3.2. So we don't have the final conservation restriction yet from EEOA, right?
No. I have, the landowners have been handling that, and I got in touch with them today when Dave asked me about it, and they forwarded to me the latest draft of the CR and the baseline report. So I think they need to take that a step further, I imagine, and this still has to be approved by the selectmen too. So I think what we're looking for from you guys is a commitment that you're willing to hold the CR.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions on this?
I don't think that I'm up to snuff on this case. Would you be able to give me a brief synopsis?
Sure.
Same.
Would you like me to do that?
I would
Yes,
love to.
please.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is an open space preservation development that was done on North End Road. And it went through a couple of iterations. There was 30 acres of required open space per the bylaw. And we created a parcel that's 30 acres that will be conveyed to Mass Fish and Game. And there's 2 other parcels that will be combined that total about 50 acres or so that will be retained by the current landowners, but it will be subject to this conservation restriction. So it's open space, but it's not officially, it's not the open space that's required for the subdivision. One of the conditions of the open space special permit is that land will never be further subdivided or not used for any residential uses. And the CR is something that the planning board wanted put on that property to protect it in perpetuity.
Does that answer your question, Dalton?
Yes.
I know Dave sent out the big plot plan of that and some other planning board decisions and stuff for that. So if you got a chance to look at that, that might give you a visual on what they were proposing to do.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Excuse me.
If you're looking at the plot at the plan, the parcel D1 is what will be conveyed to Fish and Game, and that abuts other land that they already own. And then parcel D2 and parcel C are what the landowners are going to retain.
So Fish and Game is still gonna buy that?
No, that was why the whole thing got weird. Fish and Game said they couldn't buy that because it's the required open space, but they would be willing to buy that parcel D2. And that was my clients were gonna recoup some of their costs by selling that to Fish and Game. And then when it came time for Fish and Game to buy that, they said, oh, we can't buy that because you said you were gonna donate it. So now they're gonna retain ownership of it, but with the CR on it. And actually that's a better scenario because when Fish and Game buys land, they won't
Don't pay
buy it because it has
taxes.
a conservation restriction on it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So they still have to pay the taxes for that restricted land.
Right,
It's a good deal for the town.
it is.
okay. Any other questions? So Stan, what you need from us is whether we would entertain holding that conservation restriction, correct?
Correct. Once the selectmen approve it, that the Conservation Commission would be the administrators of the conservation restriction.
Is there any kind of a time restriction on this, Stan?
No, I don't think so. No, this thing's been going on for a while with there's been a lot of ups and downs here. So I think if tonight, if you could just vote that in principle, you agree to you'll agree to hold the CR, then Dave could produce those minutes of the meeting for me, and they could use those when they go to the selectmen, for the selectmen to agree, and that say the Conservation Commission has agreed to hold the conservation restriction. That's really all we're looking for, is a verbal commitment, but it's something that will end up in writing.
If I could just reinforce that we haven't gotten a new revised draft. And as you mentioned a moment ago, the one that we have currently is dated May 18. And if I'm not mistaken, the planning folks had confirmed this in June, I believe June 20th. Don't quote me on that. And as a function of this process, as you alluded to a moment ago, there was a baseline report which was prepared as a function of the conservation restriction. And I don't know whether or not any of the folks have had an opportunity to go through there. I strongly suggest if you haven't, you do so, because it's very enlightening. These types of baseline reports are required on all properties that there's a request for a conservation restriction. It includes wetland resource areas, biomapping, archaeological possibilities or potentials. It really does a thorough review of the property itself and its value, not monetarily, but from a natural resources standpoint and from a cultural and historical standpoint. So we do need the original, I'm sorry, we do need the revised draft, which we do not have. And I do recall that in the minutes of August, I believe, of 19, when this was originally brought before us, the only provision that the Conservation Commission wanted put in there as a condition was no vehicle use or ATV use. And in looking at the draft from May 20, that particular provision was already stated within the context of that draft, the May 18 draft. So yes, we need the revised version. I've said that 3 times. I won't say it again. Because there are some details that have to be corrected. Not only the principal one are the parcels. They have the wrong parcels listed on the May 18th revised draft instead of the 4th plan. So yeah, it's back to you folks.
I do have a few more questions, if I may.
Sure.
So Stan, it looks like the parcel of land that was going to be sold to the state, it's like 20 acres and change, and then there are 2 other parcels that abut it.
Right, right.
And so that parcel that was going to be sold to the state, which will not, that we are going to place a restriction on.
Yep.
What about the other 2 parcels that abut it? Because it looks like it's used for recreation.
Right, there's three parcels. Parcel D1 is what will go to the Fish and Game. And parcel D2 and parcel C are what will be retained by the landowners. And the conservation restriction, right now there's ATVs, there's all kinds of things that happen out there. ATVs, hunting and everything else. So the conservation restriction will eliminate the use of the ATVs out there. And I think the other things that will be allowed are forestry practices. They do maple syrup that will be allowed to be done out there. So some agricultural and forestry uses will be allowed, but essentially other than that, it's going to be forest land.
Okay.
And I think to remind the committee, I just thought of this too. I think we were in to see the commission, it's probably around 2018 now. And at that time, you kind of gave us a verbal nod that you'd be willing to hold this CR. So there's really, the only thing that's different now is that what you'll be holding the CR on is much bigger than what was initially proposed. Because initially, when we came in initially, the CR was going to be only on parcel C because D1 and D2 were going to the Commonwealth. So now it's, instead of a CR on 22.8 acres, it'll be a CR on that plus another 28-acre parcel. So kind of a win for the town in a couple of ways. One, it gets a CR in the land, which wouldn't have been there if Fish and Game bought it. And as Dalton mentioned, it'll be privately owned, so they'll still be paying taxes on it.
Excuse me, any other questions?
I have
So-
a question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
Thanks. So when all is said and done and there's the conservation restriction on it, as of now, when people are allowed to use the land for recreation, who enforces? Who's gonna be in charge of making sure that people don't come back and say, well, I've been riding my ATV here for years. How does that work?
Well, you guys will have monitor, will have the power to enforce that CR. So if somebody comes to you and says that, you can say, we now have a conservation restriction on that property, and sorry, but you've been trespassing, I suppose, and now you can't ride your ATV there.
Okay, thank you.
So basically, Jen, just to kind of reiterate what Stan had said, piggyback on that, it's ultimately up to the commission to fulfill its stewardship obligation to that particular piece of property that's under a restriction.
Yep.
And that stewardship also includes enforcement. Back to your point about ATV use.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So if I could understand some historical significance of this, why is the conservation restriction being placed? Is it because the commission prior to my coming on requested that? Is it something that the landowner is offering, and for why?
The planning board requested it as part of their open space development.
Okay.
That was one of the conditions of the planning board to grant the special permit for the open space development, which the open space special permit allows them to create smaller lots than is required by zoning, provided with the provision that they provide a requisite amount of open space.
Okay, so this landowner wants to subdivide some of, is it C? Is it parcel C?
No, they already subdivided that portion in the front. Those five lots in the front.
Okay, so this was sort of the compromise from back then in order to put those developments in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. In order
Okay.
to take advantage of the provisions of the special permit section of the zoning bylaw.
Well, thank you, previous commission.
Any other questions?
No?
All right, well, so I get a motion that we, in principle, will hold the conservation restriction on the Campbell farm as long as we get the new, what am I looking for? Conservation restriction.
The
The
revised,
that didn't make-
the revised draft.
The revised draft, thank you.
You're welcome.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Seconded.
Okay, John Hussey, are you in favor of this?
I am.
Jim LaQueer, are you in favor of this?
I am.
Me too.
Dalton Wagman, are you in favor of this?
Yes, this is a good deal.
Yep.
Jennifer Eaton
Yes.
and Karen Hill is. Well, there you go, Stan, and we'll get the meeting minutes to you, and have a good night.
Awesome.
Thank you, Stan, very much.
Thank you very much.
Go home now, Stan.
Thank you. I will.
Okay. Drive safe.
I will. Thank you.
All right, we have a 6:45 and it's 6:53. It's a notice of intent, South Road Road, single family home, DEP to be announced, request for continuation. Can I get a motion to continue this
So
to
moved.
December?
Second.
Second.
Who just seconded
No, I
that?
said December 2nd.
Oh, I said December 2nd.
Yes. Okay, so I got a motion to move, a motion to continue. Now I need a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
What are we continuing? I'm sorry, Karen.
It's 2.3 South Row Road, notice of intent.
Ah,
which I guess they're doing some more delineations.
Yeah, actually, they have to file a new NOI altogether.
Okay, excuse me. John Hussey, are you in favor of this?
I am,
Jim McQueer, are you in favor of this?
I am,
Anne is in favor.
Dalton Wagman,
Yes.
Jennifer Eaton,
Yes.
and Karen Hill's in favor of this. All right, that does our hearings. So 3.1, Main Street and review, discuss potential violations of the Wetland Protection Act and the local Townsend bylaw. Do we have any more information on this at this point, or Dave?
No, we don't. We're waiting for the presumed information we're going to receive from Mr. Shepherd, as he has been in contact with the USDA and the local Farm Bureau for their comments on it.
Okay. So I don't need a motion or anything on that one, right?
No, I think we should anticipate receiving that information in the next couple of weeks. And then we can make a much more effective assessment of any potential violation and how we might go about the enforcement process if needed.
Very good.
we should put
We did
this on
3.2. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
the Zero Main Street
Yep.
should be put on our next agenda for the 2nd of December.
Yep,
Thank
right,
you.
when we get to 5.0, we'll do that. Okay, so 3.3, discuss presentational materials. So I've been wanting to talk about this for a while since we started doing Zoom meetings. I'd like for us to be able to have, for example, that map that Stan had of
Campbell.
Campbell Farm, so that you could have had that in front of you instead of having to look on a computer screen, or in my case, my phone. Other certain things we might want is presentational materials. I don't think we need the printed stuff like our agenda or the notice of intent. But I just was wondering how you all felt about that. And if you want that, how soon in advance to the meeting would you like those?
The materials?
Yes.
Soon enough so that we can have a chance to go over them.
Well, if it's a Wednesday meeting, is Monday good? If it's a Wednesday meeting, rather have it on a Friday so you could look at it over the weekend, hopefully. I mean, because we can set a deadline for when we need these materials by.
The Friday before would be ideal, but I don't know if that's possible. And
Well, in a perfect world. But we could shoot for that. And is this something everybody would be interested in, or is this just something nobody wants?
I would definitely be interested in it.
Yeah, I would as well, because you get to look over the plans and have a better handle and knowledge of what's proposed and what's going on.
That's my agreement.
Well,
Anybody-
how would we be getting it, and how big would the maps be?
Well, that's a good question. So I think the normal standard size is like 2 foot by 3 foot. I
Yeah,
don't think we get 2 foot by 3 foot. I think half that would be perfect.
yeah.
The Greenville Bridge, for example, handed out legal size ones, and I thought those were just a tweak too small. It was great information, but they were a tweak
Right.
too small for me.
Yep.
So that would be my suggestion, would be 24 by 18. That way they could print up 2 on one page and cut it in half.
So how would we be getting these?
Well, you could either go to town hall and pick them up, because you would have a packet to pick up, so they'd be ready for you. Or someone might be able to deliver them, but no one's guaranteeing that.
And rightly so.
I mean, ideally, what we'll do is
Town hall idea.
what we'll try to do. And I know Dalton and Jen have, schedules as such.
Yeah.
So I respect, their opportunities and their time. Not that I don't for everyone else. But certainly, I think it would make sense if the packets were put together and I made them available either through our office. We pre-designated time to stop by like we do in signing some of the paperwork that's required to be sent out. And that kind of thing has worked in the past. I don't see any reason why something like this wouldn't. If Dalton and or Jen need a specific time or way to pick up the detail, I'd be more than happy to work with them to get it. So I don't think we should have a problem with that. And barring my not being available, I can also enlist either Janet or perhaps Kathy just to keep individual packets in their office, which we've also done in the past as well. And they've been very accommodating.
So our agenda has to be steadfast within 24 hours of the meeting or 48 hours.
Yeah, it's
48.
instead, we've been doing that with regularity, John.
So we should be able to get any of the pertinent information via, mapping or whatever at the same time. Although I know you send us the agendas electronically, which is great.
Well, as Karen and I guess some of the other commissioners that asked, I think Jen that originated it, this can be available the Friday before
Yeah.
Wednesday in which we have a hearing. I'll do my best to have that available to you in a way that can be comfortable and safe.
Yeah, that'd be great, Dave.
Sure.
So do I need a motion for this?
No, not at all. It's just process.
Information.
It's just process.
I left room for that, but never mind. All right, so we're going to try to get presentational materials on the Friday before a meeting so that we can all peruse this on the big screen.
Big screen.
Sounds like a plan.
3.4, discuss a donation of land to the town on South Row Road. This has been sitting around for a while, and unfortunately, it just came to us this morning, so there's not a whole lot, we don't have a whole lot of information on it yet. Dave wants to do a little more research. I can tell you it's a piece of land that's landlocked in between South Row Road, Tyler Road, and Emery Road. The landowners inherited the land, and again, it's landlocked, so they'd like to donate it to the town or to someone so that they don't have to deal with it. But for tonight's purpose, I had to have it put on the agenda. Dave's gonna do a little more research on it. I know quite a bit about this property, but I would like to let Dave do his due diligence with it. So that having been said, we will see this again on December 2nd.
Do they own a parcel that abuts the landlocked land?
No, they do not.
So they pay taxes on land that's unusable?
Correct.
Unless, of course, they got permission from a neighbor, but I can't imagine what it is they would be doing. Unless harvesting, maybe.
How much land is it, Karen?
I don't know, to be honest.
Can I suggest, Karen,
Does
that
the
we just
town-
wait, Madam Chair, if I could just,
Yes.
can I just make a comment? Why don't you're asking questions I believe that neither Karen and I have probably any answers to. And I
Yeah.
certainly don't have any answers probably to any of your questions. Just let us do our due diligence and we'll bring this back up on the 2nd.
Okay, does that make sense? Then Dave will put together a report. I'll throw in my 2 cents and we'll be able to discuss this on an informed manner next meeting.
Sounds good.
Sounds
I'd
good
like-
to me.
And I'd like to see the property also.
How are you gonna get to it?
I don't know, I've got to figure that out. Get permission from a lot of people.
Okay.
You wise guy, what are you doing?
It was a paratrooper one time, wasn't he?
Yeah, right. I'll get my drones out.
Yeah, dive in.
All right, let's get serious, people.
Yeah, all right.
4.0, correspondence. 4.1, public records request for 11/4/20 audio of the commission's hearings from Joan Savoy request. 4.2, letter from town council to AGO's office in response to open meeting law complaint from Joan Savoy. That I believe you've gotten in an email. 4.3, letter from town council to AGO's office in response to open meeting law complaint from Joan Savoy. That you got as an email also. 4.4, public records request, Joan Savoy, meeting minutes 9/17/20. I believe that was sent to you as an email. 4.5, letter from Attorney General's office granting an extension to Joan Savoy's appeal period dated 11/11/20. That was sent as an email. And 4.6, response from Joan Savoy to Attorney General's office dated 11/11/20, which was also sent to you all as an email. 5.0, items for next discussion, at the next meeting.
So I have a question.
Sure.
So this is under our section of correspondence and we're reading through those. Are we supposed to say anything about those or like, why
No.
is this showing up on our agenda?
Because it was correspondence from someone to us, and then it's correspondence.
Okay.
And we had to respond to some of it, actually through town council at some point, so it's part of the record.
Yeah, it has to be read into the record, Dalton.
So it's read into the record, like in title, but not in substance.
Correct, not in content, because now that it's read into the record, anyone can go to town clerk's office and request it.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Items for discussion at the next meeting. We have obviously 59 West Meadow.
We have 0 Main.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to Zero Main.
Yeah. And we're gonna talk,
3.2.
we'll talk about the South Row parcel we just
0.3.
talked about
Yeah.
a moment ago.
3.4 and South Row. You have any idea when they're gonna be ready?
Say that again?
Do you have any idea when South Row is gonna be ready?
No, they were just notified by DEP. They've got to completely refile. It's been somewhat of a
Well,
debacle
then-
along the way.
If it's gonna be a new file number, we should just take it off the agenda.
Well, I agreed, but not until I get confirmation of that from DEP.
Okay,
So I'm getting that via voicemail.
all right. What else? Meadow Road, Zero Main, the South Row land, South Row. I guess that's it. Okay, advertisements and conferences. Thanks to COVID, there are none. Next meeting tentatively December 12th, December 2nd, 2020. And again, it's that magical part of the evening
I'd like to make a motion for adjournment.
at 7:07. Can I get a second?
Seconded.
Excited. There.
Give me a second. There, okay, I had to write down here. Okay, John Husby, are you in favor?
Aye,
John? Jim LaQueer?
aye.
Jim
Yes.
LaQueer? Dalton Wegman?
Yes.
Jennifer Eaton?
Yes.
And I certainly am.
All right, I am too.
Well, thank you, people. It's been a wonderful evening. Stay well, stay safe.
Yeah, let's see, it went by too fast.
Good night, everybody. I'm going to end this show. Talk to
Good
you
night,
later.
all.
Okay, good
Bye-bye.
night.
I know. Happy
Night.
Thanksgiving.